got here is Carnellion from about the year 1307, 14th century France. Apparently his character took place during a battle against King Philip and a group of Templar Knights, I believe near one of the castles that is, which talks about how the bout took place. It was that the illustrated depiction of the Knights and Templars in battle, based on a fresco in the chapel of the Templar and the Corsage Charnel, Charente, France. For the Templars, the day began in the early morning hours of Friday, October 13th of 1307. Yep, see, I just explained it there with no help, no Google search, no nothing. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm here to analyze and kind of depict, along with picking out exactly what is good about Carnellion's outfit and what is wrong with it, things I'd fix to make it look more historically accurate, and things I think that they did great. So first off, right off the bat, what you might notice is that his outfit looks a lot like Altair's, right? But Altair, his life took place about 100, 200 years before Carnellion's life took place. Right, so Altair, prime of his life, when he found Maria, I believe she was not just a Templar knight, but a Templar,
Fandom. Maria Thorpe was an English noblewoman living during the Middle Ages.
Anyway, so when Altair was in the prime of his life, right, him and her, if you saw in the second game of Assassin's Creed 2, when Ezio's having flashbacks, when Desmond's having flashbacks, you play as Altair, she chases this woman, the woman is Maria. You can get way more information about who she is and how she works from the game through playing that game right there on a PlayStation Portable, or maybe PlayStation Vista, but doing one of those. Anyway, but yes, that'll give you much more information about who she is and why she plays such an important role. Him and her get in a relationship. I don't really think they get married per se, but I do know that they do have a relationship and they make children, because Altair, I believe he has 3 sons, and, well, the mother is Maria. But anyway, so that was a few hundred years before that, and then and that happened in the year 1103 is when Assassin's Creed Bloodlines takes place, which is in some of the earlier times of Altair's life. And when they died as an old man, it was probably when he was in his early 20s, his really early 20s, when Altair was a man. When he became a master assassin. That would suggest that if he was about 27 years old when the first Assassin's Creed game took place, which would mean that he's about maybe 22 or 20 years old inside Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, mean that this took about 100 years or so with the gameplay that's going on. Anyway, but here are some things that I would fix about Carnellion's outfit itself. Again, things I like about it, things I don't like about it. So first off, one of the things that I would change about his outfit, honestly, is I would because he does climb a lot and does a lot of climbing and things like that, I would say, make these a lot shorter. Make the robes here a lot shorter, so that way they are just a little more prominent and appropriate to his overall look. So if you made this shorter to about where his knees are at, I feel like it would just be more practical, and it would, I think overall, maybe not really look better, but if you're serving a functional purpose, which back then people still served lots of functional purposes, this is what you'd want. Along with getting rid of that stash piece there, because that can interfere with a lot of things as far as combat and everything. And something else I don't like which I think they're maybe trying to go for, but it looks like what he has going on here, right, with what these are, it looks like they might be possibly trying to look like they are Gambesson. Okay, and this here is Gambesson. It's a very thick, padded, lots and lots of fabrics padded together. No leather, no actual metal armor, just thick leathers. They did their job, and they did their jobs well. But anyway, back to Carnellions. So I would essentially make those into actual Gambesson, and maybe even actually take them and make them. Let's see if I can find another color that's more like that, which I can't, so to hell with that. Anyway, so what I would do is I'd probably take that and make that the entire length of this here, and make that so as that itself is nice. And then what I would do with this is I would make this a, I'd make this up here a brigadine, and brigadine looks something like this. Okay, the red that guy is wearing is brigadine. It's where studded leather armor technically came from. Brigadine is basically taking a bunch of small pieces of hardened, solid metal armor, or even in this guy's case, a breastplate of armor, and then getting little holes for it, and then getting little buttons or nails, and you essentially on both sides would put the fabric of your choice onto the brigadine piece, and then kind of hammer them together to get them stick together, so that way your armor isn't just this solid color, but it actually like just a solid metal. It actually has color and things like that added to it. Well, yes, going back to that, that is something that I would add to it. I'd also again make this like maybe a red, so maybe take off that stash completely, just get rid of it, because it's not really serving him any functional purpose, other than maybe giving him an extra little layer of that. But again, if you actually made this into a brigadine, which is just metal and then fabric kind of buttoned onto it, if you gave him that, right, and that could be the red, so go like this, right, we can make, right, this, right, the red armor, right, and then we can go like this over here, right, and then put all the little holes that you put on it for it, right, and then we would just completely exclude this piece. This piece does not exist, right? And then also what I would do is I think that what he would also really should need is more brigadine, but in a breastplate, because if you're in combat, getting hit in the chest, especially with arrows, was extremely prominent. So I think maybe if let's say you had some armor and you wanted to, you know, brigadine it up, right? So you'd add all these different little pieces, right? And then you would maybe then get a fabric, color that armor, and then again get some get some pieces and put it on, and it looked a lot better. Or even if he wanted it to be black, right? So he could go and say make it a black brigadine, so it suits more his whole outfit. And then I would also suggest, right, that he essentially put the entire, that his strap here actually stayed under his armor. And here's why I say that, because if you look here at what actual French medieval armor looked like during the 14th century, you'll see that that there aren't really many belts or loops or really anything like that at all attached to his armor. There aren't straps going all up and down through the armor. So if you cut that, it's possible that those straps could be holding onto the armor to help it keep you safe. And if someone comes in with a giant war axe or a great sword, right, or any other kind of weapon, and cuts it, then your armor's going to fall off, and the enemy's going to be able to go right in there and just destroy you. Again, so that's another thing I would change for sure. Something else that I might change about it again is making this up here an actual piece of armor, much like what he has here, where it's kind of brigadine-like, right? I take what he's got going on here, also add it to right there. That way, if he gets struck on the shoulder, it's good. And then likewise with Altair's, is taking those knives back there and maybe actually putting them on his chest even, or even on the belt like what Altair had done. Because when you're doing this, and if you're parkouring and you're rolling all around and you hit these knives, they're going to break, or they can end up cutting you, or something bad can happen. And also something else that I really don't like, not that I don't mind the color, but I really don't like his hood, for a multitude of reasons. One, because leather, yeah, it's kind of thick. It might stop like a dagger cut, but it's not going to stop a dagger jab. It's not going to stop a heavy axe going to the head. It's not going to stop a it's not going to stop a sword either that's coming in swinging, or a mace, or even a foil, for that matter. So there is, I mean, again, if I'm saying it, maybe if he wore some sort of chainmail under his hood or over his hood, or did kind of like what Arno did. Okay, so again, looking at it here, do you kind of see what he's doing with this, what Arno is doing with this hood here, right? You notice that it's a hood, right? But then it has a layer of chainmail going over the hood. I think that is a great idea because it's going to stop cuts. It's going to hurt like crazy. You might even like break a bone, possibly, or give you head damage, but at least it's not going to go through you and it can't decapitate you. You won't like the amount of the sharpness of the blade's impact won't do much damage. The only thing that's going to do damage is really the blunt force from the blade. But then again, that can be prevented by putting a helmet kind of inside it. Again, so like that's something that I would add to do to that. But also, something else that I do like, again, that I always like that they do, is that they have van braces. Van braces are indeed accurate, especially with archers. People did wear them. They weren't prominent for everybody, but they were prominent for quite a few people. Something else that I overall do like is just its overall style, and the fact that it does still give you that medieval vibe and that signature Assassin's Creed look. I think it's very nice. Again, make this a brigadine. Put some brigadine here. Get some chainmail on there. Put whatever metal he's got going on here. That also might be a type of multi-layered metal. Make this into gambeson. Along with making it longer, and just overall to make this all of the cloth that he's wearing, replace all this cloth with gambeson. He's going to be much better off if all of this cloth that he's wearing that is black was just gambeson, as opposed to just kind of just cloth that, I mean, yeah, it might be lighter in weight, but still, there's not much protection at all with their outfits. And again, that actually could be for a practical, in that his armor, he's not meant to be in combat. He is a stealth operative only, which is to literally assassinate people without being seen, hiding in the shadows. So in that case, wearing lots of armor, or really any armor for that regard, isn't necessary. I guess in a lot of ways, if you're considering more that he's not meant at all to be very combat oriented of a person, and more just trying to kill quickly and silently, then I think that this is great. I think people might act yours if you want to kind of if you don't want people to know who you are, but you're someone that trains specifically in stealth and getting a job done from the inside, therefore being kind of like a stealth operative. That's fine. But again, for the parkour aspects, just take this off, make it into something else. Seriously, make these make these two pieces here much shorter, because that is very detrimental to your ability to do parkour. So there's that. Again, if we look at it from the back, you can see that it kind of has the same exact stuff as what Altair had, which I guess makes sense because I guess that's how assassins dressed in that time period, where they have their either the short sword or I believe a very large dagger of some sort on their back to do some extremely quick close combat kills, and they have the sword for when they're in full combat, and then their hidden blade, which is basically their main attack weapon, and then they have their knives for the throwing, and then their satchels and stuff for carrying stuff. So I think overall, for what he does, the outfits do make sense. For what these assassins do, it does make sense, but it is not very historically accurate. Again, so something like this, the way these people are dressed is much more historically accurate. You would see people wearing, again, really, really tight jeans. It appears in this case, the style back then was to wear pointy shoes to, I guess, show authority or something like that. Also to wear lots of color and kind of show off your own designs and things that you like. Kind of like how we wear graphic t-shirts nowadays. That's kind of how this was. You'd have people, wearing fancy crowns and hats if you had the money to afford it, or if you were a person of high interest, or made lots of money through your value through cargo trading and storage. Things such like that, if you were a lord, a duke, or king. And things like that makes perfect sense. Again, men that went to war. With the 14th century, once it turned into the Renaissance period, which I believe was a little bit before that. I believe the Renaissance period started in the 16th century, but it looks like these clothings, there were some aesthetic purposes to, I believe, their clothing to kind of more so show who their lord, what land they came from, and where they reigned from. So it's, even though it technically looked like it would be aesthetic, I think it still serves a completely functional and authentic purpose, which is to show who you're with, so that way you don't get confused. So that people can know what army you're a part of and who you serve. Again, also a lot of people here, like this is a monk reading a transcript of some sort, and you can tell that he clearly has lots of robes to look really nice, I guess. Well, here you can see that there is this is going to be a scholar from about that time period just writing. You see, again, people would probably, I think, wear lots of robes, like lots of fabrics, I think, to show how important they are, and the fact that they could actually afford the money and the resources to actually make robes of such lengths. So having them tailored larger, I believe, back then, what makes sense to me, thinking about logistically, is that people back then, when they wore robes with lots of extra fabrics, because they could afford it, and it showed a certain amount of wealth, that I have these resources, and I am wealthy enough to afford the extra resources to be able to use them for my own personal reason. But anyway, so that is kind of my review on Castillion's outfit from the war that the battle he was featured on in the year 1307, inside of the Christophe Sonente. Yep. And kind of what things are accurate and what things are inaccurate about his outfit. There are a lot of things that are really, I feel like, inaccurate. Overall, this style of assassin outfit is very inaccurate for the time period. It serves a completely functional purpose for what he's doing, which is to be extremely quiet, not be seen by people. It needs to be really lightweight so we can climb, but again, I feel like people wouldn't dress like this. It wouldn't be so... just there. I feel like for him, there wouldn't... Like there's a lot that it could and could not be. Or maybe he does have a lot of money and is wealthy enough to afford longer clothing, so in a way, I guess a lot of this could show that he's really wealthy, along with being really thick, so that way he has padded protection against things like small cuts, and things like that, along his way being able to stay light enough, so that way he can actually go and parkour and do what he needs to go and do. But there's also the case that people didn't dress like this at all, really, during the 14th century. At least it wasn't common for actual assassins and men of war to dress like this. In fact, wait, this is the most accurate depiction I could find of medieval assassins, which apparently are all Middle Eastern, but nonetheless, again, they didn't dress like how Assassin's Creed depicts them. Assassin's Creed is very specific and very special design and very iconic. So, anyway, but again, yes. But again, that is my review on that, and I'm kind of just overall like what and how he dressed. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know. And again, if you want, feel free to tell me what things I could work on to make these kind of videos better. What did you like? What did you not like? What do I need to fix? Things like that. I'd love to learn, because I think making these kind of videos are actually rather simple and pretty easy and also pretty great. So again, thank you. If you liked the video, please give it a like. And if you enjoy content like this or any other type of content on my channel, feel free to subscribe.